going on, guys? John Cortese here, back with a little video post for you. I got an email a couple days ago from one of my blog readers, and he asked me a question about deloading for athletes, and when the best time to do it. How do you unload, basically? How do you deload on a training cycle for peaking, for example, 40-yard dash testing, vertical jump. Basically how, when, and why to do it. So I drew a little diagram, trying to make it simple as possible, but we're going to kind of outline some principles that I like to follow that have been really successful for me and my athletes, as well as it's a very, very simple process. We'll go over in a minute, but again, doing this the right way can lead to PRs almost every time if you do it correctly. You can also really screw it up bad if you do it wrong. By peaking at the wrong time, not planning efficiently or effectively. Anyways, we're going to go over this right now, and hopefully this clears up a lot of questions and leaves some more PRs for you. So with that being said, here we go. Basically what we're looking at is the Deload Principles. It's very simple to do. I circled 3-1 for, and we'll get there in a minute, but this is key right here. This is what we need to follow when we're doing any sort of deloading period. This is big, so we'll go over that in a minute. So basically, there's 3 questions that we want to look at when we're doing this: how, when, and why. There's a rhyme and reason for doing this, and everybody's different. But we're going to go back to this in a minute. Again, what we like to look at when we're deloading for athletes is how. Okay, how do we do this properly? Well, there's a number of ways to do it. The easiest way that I found, we'll go back to this again. Okay, I'll explain what this is. We train hard for 3 weeks and then we back off for 1. It's very simple to do. For example, if you're on a 12-week training program, normally every 4th week you would deload. Okay, this is what I tried to drew this diagram the best I could. Basically, what we're doing is we're ramping up intensity and volume, and we back off a little bit. Now this line right here basically is your baseline. I'm not going to get into too much scientific stuff right now, but again, every time we unload, you let your body recover a little bit, then we look for a little bit more of an adaptation to that. Okay, because when you're training hard, that's not when you're creating the adaptation process. It's the recovery period. Okay, that's why we deload. Number 1. So. Sorry, I'm going off on a ramble. This is, one of my ramblings again, but we'll look at when right now, okay? When is a factor that you need to determine for not only your own athletes, but yourself as well. The 3-1 guideline that I just talked about, 3 weeks on, 1 week, light, and we'll go over how to do that in a minute. This is, again, very individual, and it's a very general prescription, okay? So not everybody needs to deload every 4th week. If you're an athlete, it's probably a good idea, just because it's a good time. It's a good time to recover, rest your mind, rest your body. Especially if you're training out for 3 weeks, you're gonna need to take a deload week off. Okay, doesn't mean take a whole week off from training and stop doing what you're doing altogether. But this is important to do, especially when we're looking at the long-term process. We want to keep you injury-free. And doing this is going to help you ensure that you're, doing all you can to not get hurt while you're training. Okay? That's the why. Alright? But again, not everybody needs this. Okay? I outlined a couple signs that you may need to deload. And once you kind of get the hang of it on how to do it for yourself, you can also get a hang of it how to do it for your athletes as well. You'll start to notice signs like sluggishness. They walk in, they're tired all the time, and they slept 8 hours and they're still tired. Fatigue, that's the same thing. Lack of motivation is big. You'll even notice in your own training as well. You do balls to the walls first 2 weeks, 3rd week you're going hard still, 4th week, the effort's there, but the weights are not moving as fast or hard anymore. 5th week, you don't even want to go to the gym anymore. That's a good time to unload. Okay. Eye sensitive to light, everything's kind of brighter than it usually is. Moody, and you're irritable. Involuntary muscle spasms or twitching of the eyelids is another sign. These are all signs of slight overtraining. Now there's a big difference between overtraining and overreaching. Overreaching is basically what we're trying to do here is you're trying to overreach for 3 weeks and then we unload for 1. Overtraining is actually pretty rare. It takes, your body can handle a lot of volume more than we think. True overtraining, again, I think it's very rare, especially for young athletes, 14, 15, 16 years old. It's gonna be pretty rare that they're gonna overtrain, unless they're training like 3 times a week, Monday through Friday, or 3 times a day, sorry, Monday through Friday. Again, it's very rare that you're gonna overtrain. You can overreach often, and that's when you need to unload, okay, or deload. So again, what we look at, 3 factors when we're doing this, okay? Number 1, frequency. Number 2, volume. Number 3, intensity. 3 things that you need to consider when you're deloading, okay? Frequency, I would keep the same schedule of days per week that you train. So if you train 3 days a week in the weight room, 2 days a week on conditioning or whatever, keep it the same. Maybe cut back a day or 2 if you really need it. If you need an actual day of rest, it's okay. It's a deload week, so it's purposely trying to recover. Volume, I generally drop everything 50% when we're unloading for our athletes and our clients. Excuse me. Going through puberty all over again. So volume, 50% decrease, okay? So for example, if you're doing 4 sets of 10 on your 3rd week, week 4, 2 sets of 5, okay? Or 2 sets of 10 or whatever, okay? Very simple to do, especially even with speed work too. Speed work, we gotta look at total volume. So, for example, we're doing week 3 on Monday, for example, you did, we'll just say 6 20-meter sprints, right? So that equals 120 meters volume. And then we did 4 40s, which is another 160. So we're doing that. That's 280 meters of speed work, which is not a whole lot, but week 4, you just cut that in half. So 140 meters. And again, the deload week is we're still there. We're trying to still not detrain, but we're trying to give yourself a couple days to recover before you reach injury. Okay. Now intensity, I put a question mark simply because it depends on the athlete, the situation that we're in. Sometimes I keep the intensity high, but the volume just cut in half. So we're still trying to get stronger, but with less volume. Okay. So that's going to create. We're still going to create some sort of adaptation response to training, but we're allowing you to still get stronger without all the friggin' volume, okay? Because the volume is what's going to add up. The volume and intensity together is what's going to add up, okay? Over time, if you don't unload correctly, deload, all right? Anyways, there it is, guys. Real simple. Now the way to do it, again, the best way to do this. So if you're on a 12-week training cycle, right? Okay. And you want to peak for test week, right? So week 13, we like to peak. All right. I like to look at it backwards. So always plan backwards from your test day. So if you know that you're testing on week 13 on Monday, week 12 you want to start your deload on Monday. Okay. So 7 to 10 days out is usually the general prescription that I like to use for deloading for athletes for peaking on a certain day. So tricky. It's kind of tricky in a way to do it, but if you do it properly, you will peak on the right days. So for example, let's say Monday, you want to test your squat and your 40, okay? 7 days out, that's when you start your deload with your 40 and your squat testing, right? I'm rambling again, excuse me. So let's just ignore what I just said right there. I'm going off on a tangent here. Very, very simple. Start 7 days out from your test week. 7 to 10 days out. Most people 7 days. The faster and stronger you are, 10 days, okay? That's more for elite athletes. Everybody else can get away with a 7-day taper. And again, I've done it numerous times with my athletes. 7 days out, test them on the 8th day, and everybody's hitting PRs. Because, think about this. This is a quote that I like to live by for a long time. I got this from Kelly Baggett. It's fatigue mass fitness, right? If you're tired all the time, you're training hard. I understand we like to train hard to get there, right? To reach your goals, but that fatigue, the overreaching is going to mask your true potential, all right? So 7 days out, the final taper period, okay? we unload real more than you would for a typical deload, right? So we're going 3 on, 1 light week. 3 on again, 1 light. So that's 3, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 weeks right there. The third week right there. This is the most intense week right here, okay? 9, 10, 11. We taper on week 12. Week 13. That's when you go for it. That's when you get PRs. So real simple. 3 on, 1 off. You'll have 3 taper periods in there. 3 training cycles in there. And each one kind of builds on the other. Alright? So we can get to that in another post on how to do that properly. But again, this is how you do it. This is how I've done it. Not to say that I'm right, but for everybody that I've done this for, they've been very successful and they've all hit PRs on doing this properly. So, that being said, there you have it, guys. Steven, I hope I answered your question, bud. And if you have any more questions, guys, just leave them below, comment section, and feel free to let me know what you thought about this. And we'll talk to you soon. Alright, see you later. John Cortese, CorteseForwards.com, TTSGym.com, Napa Valley. See you later.